Hello, my name is Kadaria and I welcome you to this first edition of the program Straight Talk, a current affairs and news program that seeks to examine all the pertinent issues taking place in Nigeria today. I am pleased to have in the studio with me a special guest. He was born on November 11, 1954 to Muslim parents, but in 1974 converted to Christianity, a decision that would be pivotal in the direction his life would take. He trained as a lawyer and even worked in the chambers of the late legal luminaries, Gani Fawemi and Chief Rotimi Williams. But it is his work as lead pastor of the Latter Rain Assembly, the church he founded, which brought him to national attention. He has not shied away from using his pulpit to preach against what he considers excesses of governance. In 2010, he convened the Save Nigeria Group, a pressure group for good governance, which also fought for President Jonathan's confirmation as president when the late President Yar'Adua became too ill to rule. Later, his group was to submit a position paper on why Jonathan should not be elected. He took this opposition a bit further when he stood as running mate to retired General Muhammadu Buhari, the main challenger to President Jonathan during the 2011 elections. The loss at the polls during the elections doesn't appear to have slowed him down at all. He continues to be a vocal critic of the current government and the ruling People's Democratic Party. On Straight Talk today, I am very pleased to welcome Pastor Bolahun Babatunde Bakari. Thank you so much for agreeing to come to Straight Talk. We're honored to have you on the program. Welcome.
It's my pleasure.
You are attending a meeting, and our understanding is that part of the things that will be discussed are the mergers with other political parties.
Yes.
What is your position regarding this merger, you as an individual, not CPC as a party?
To be honest with you, I think the merger will be the best thing that ever happened to this country. For the first time, the people labeled progressives are coming together on a common platform. Before now, you can call them a house divided against itself. If they can truly come together, and if they can put nation above personal interests, then maybe a new dawn in democratic governance is around the corner.
Now, the two powerhouses really that are going to drive this merger are your party, the CPC, and the Action Congress of Nigeria. Let me remind you of something that you said about the Action Congress a few years ago when you were talking about them, and then ask you in the light of that to tell me whether you've actually changed your mind. You said, look at the madness going on in Yoruba land. Nincompoop people without family background causing problems because of money, ill-gotten wealth. If a town or settlement is at peace, it's because the bastard there is yet to grow up. You also then said, a bastard pretending to be a patriot. There are people who, until they drink kai-kai, they cannot function. They pretend to be larger than life. And you were talking about the leadership of the Action Congress of Nigeria at that time. These are the people that you want to go into a political alliance with.
You have them in every ethnic nationality. My focus that particular day was on Yoruba people. The Yorubas have what you call as a way of life, the Omoluabi concept, which is a byproduct of your upbringing. And to Yoruba man, money is not everything. A good name is better than riches. Now, you are involved in a nation or in any organization, you are going to meet all kinds of people, the good, the bad, the ugly. That you engage them in anything does not mean you are changing. You can maintain contact without contamination, and perhaps you can influence them.
How do you form an alliance with the people who you don't share values, you don't share ideology, and then you expect that alliance to actually work?
You can go into agreement with anyone. If I'm selling products, for example, anybody can come to buy. I need to check my quality control, that what I'm offering the people is what I promised to deliver. And if I'm going to go into alliance with anyone, I'm talking personally now, or my group or my party, we have irreducible minimum. What is going on for us is the power of credibility. Because to be believed, you must be believable. To be believable, you must stand by the truth. It is truth that sets free. We are not going to change that because we are going to alliance. We are coming together not just to secure power.
But the only thing you have in common amongst all of you is the fact that you all feel that the PDP government is incompetent and that President Jonathan has no place in government. That is the only thing that unites you. And so it is hard for observers looking on to see how you can actually forge any sort of meaningful government or meaningful program, because some of the people that you're talking about have been in government before, and we've seen their performance in government before. They've been as bad as those you're seeking to replace.
Well, to remain in opposition forever in a presidential system does not make any common sense. And to seek alliance with people who believe in what you believe in, I'm not saying you believe in what they have done, but they believe in what you believe in, because we have clear, crystal clear mental picture reduced into writing of what we expect the future of Nigeria to be. CPC came with a manifesto that's still the best that I've seen in Nigerian politics. And we're not going to shy away from that. We want to put a stop on corruptive tendencies in our nation. And you cannot go all the way with us except you believe what you believe. So those things are being harmonized right now so that when we come out with a constitution that will be made available to all Nigerians, and we come up with a manifesto that we want you to hold us accountable to, so that we give account regularly of what we have promised to deliver. It's not going to be business as usual. All we have seen is it appears the worst citizens gathered together behind an incompetent president, and we want to change that. We want to see capacity. We want to see capabilities. We want to see a man who stands by his word and not a president who lies to the nation.
Now, do you personally have any political ambitions? Do you want to run for political office in 2015? I ask because in 2011, you were the running mate to CPC presidential candidate, retired General Muhammadu Buhari, and there have been suggestions that in fact it is your intransigence and refusal to step down that caused the failure of the merger that was supposed to take place between CPC then and ACN.
Those who know the truth knows exactly what happened. There was no merger between ACN and CPC. There was a talk of alliance last minute, and it was not stepping down that was the issue. It was resigning on paper with my signature to sign as Vice President of Nigeria. And I said, no, I can't do that. I can resign as Tunde Bakare, a candidate, but I can't resign as Vice President, office that I've not occupied. That is illegal.
Are you saying they were willing to allow your name to go forward in the polls, and then they expected that once you'd won the elections, you would resign as Vice President?
That was what they were asking for. That was not even the issue with me. It's not a matter of life and death if it will move my nation forward, but I was not ready to commit perjury to sign an office I had not occupied.
Do you understand why people then look now? These are the same people that you're about to enter another alliance into. People that you say asked you to commit perjury in 2011.
Yes.
And so people are looking on and thinking, what are you thinking?
You're not. You're personalizing it as if it's a Tunde Bakare decision. It's a party decision. CPC is talking with ACN alongside with other parties. The progressives are coming together and they're busy talking. Let's not count our chicken before they are hatched.
No, but because you're a man of God, because you're a pastor,
I'm
we
not
expect...
I'm not in the merger committee.
But we expect that your actions, even as an individual, will be guided by a certain moral, compass.
Yes.
And if a party that you belong to, for example, is saying, I'm going to sit down with ABC, and you disapprove of those people or you have issues around those people, we expect to hear you screaming and shouting. You certainly do a lot of that when it comes to criticizing other parties.
I'm sure you have not been listening and been watching that I've said so many things even about this in itself. But don't forget, my moral code is simple. I'm salt of the earth. I'm light of the world. So light does not run away from darkness, and salt does not run away from corruption. What you do is contact without contamination. I remember Jesus said to his disciples, I'm not taking you out of the world, but I'm going to keep you away from evil. I will not do evil, and I will not participate in anything that will violate my moral codes and the principles I live by. Nothing can change that. But to move Nigeria forward requires more than one individual. It requires parties coming together to flush PDP out of power and to use the same power for service and not for self. If that's what this is all about, let's give it a chance. Let them do all the talking. We will now sit down together within the party, outside of the party, as citizens of this country, look at what is the manifesto of the new party, what is the constitution of the new party. You can take it to the bank. If it violates anything that General Buhari stands for, or anything I stand for, you can be rest assured that we're not going to be part of it. But because we know we are bringing positive influence on irreducible minimum, the purpose of governance, we are auditing everything to ensure that we do not compromise our values just for seeking power's sake.
Okay, so the initial question that I asked, your own personal intentions, will you be throwing your hat in the ring? Will you be actually standing for political office again?
If you look at me, my heart is on my head. I've never thrown any heart into any ring. I was requested and invited to join a presidential candidate to run with him. I have no political ambition whatsoever. I belong to a class of people within biblical context, men like Joseph, men like Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, and women like Esther. Do you understand me? Mm-hmm. They were asked to come. They did not look for it. When you are good, the world will make a beating path to your doorstep.
So you don't know? It's not yes or no, you don't know?
I have nothing said in concrete that I would do this, nothing at all.
Okay. What about the principal man in CPC himself, retired General Muhammadu Buhari? Is he going to try and run for Nigeria's presidency again, or is he going to step aside for younger people to take the CPC mantle forward?
Well, General Buhari belongs to a class of people whose passion is to stabilize their country. He's in his early 70s now. The same age I will run for election in Nigeria. Reagan did. You find people of his age who have track record of incorruptibility in public service and who know Nigeria should be better run than it's being run right now, coming in to save their nation and surround themselves with younger fellows who have all the energy and the drive. If you ask me, would General Buhari run again? He has made it clear to all that if the new party that is coming out of the merger talk, if the emerging party gives him the ticket, he will run again.
There are many people who believe he's not electable in a place like Nigeria, that he's a divisive figure, rightly or wrongly. He's seen as militant, he's seen as Islamic, and people fear that. Is it not wiser to say upfront that perhaps he shouldn't run? There are 1 million Nigerians out there who surely will be qualified to run as president of Nigeria. Isn't it wiser for the CPC to start searching for somebody who is more likely to be a unifying candidate so that you can actually stand a chance of winning elections in 2015? I
heard you say, is it wrong for CPC? It will not be CPC if the merger talk works. It will be APC. And you have not given me the names of these better qualified. Well,
there are 150 million Nigerians. Yes. You can't tell me that of those 150 million, only General Buhari is qualified to run.
We didn't say that.
Okay.
Who have been tested and proven that could deliver without stealing from the public treasury.
Maybe the problem is Nigeria needs to consign to history everybody who's actually run for government before and starts from scratch.
That sounds like a theory that many people think that something is wrong with our past. No, a lot is wrong with our past, but there are good things in our past.
Aren't we living the legacy of our past now? All the mistakes made by various leaders have come together to bring us to where we are today?
I do not want you to let us waste so much time on these issues. First, major talk is on. Conventions are being held by the parties going into merger. When that party comes, that party decides on democratic principles who will be their flag bearer. Let's give it a chance.
The problem is politicians are sitting down and taking these decisions and talking to themselves, and nobody seems to be listening to regular Nigerians. Before coming for this interview, I did an ad hoc survey of people, and the truth is they don't think much of you as politicians because they are not too sure that you're listening. The average Nigerian is under 30. He does not want a 70-year-old president. He doesn't want someone who's been a president before. He doesn't want to see people who've been in government at various times, whether it's in the 1970s or in the 80s. They look and see those people as being part of the larger problem. They want a clean start. That is what I was told.
Well, very good. I congratulate those Nigerians, and it is not wrong. If you look in other nations today, you see younger people like Obama, but they are building on what the older people did in their time. There was a time America was in a major moral crisis. It was an old man by the name of Reagan who came to fix it. We are in such a mess today that many of the young people you interview don't even know what the issues are. And let me tell you, and I stand to say this publicly, that it is a curse within biblical context for you not to have old people in your home. The values of men who are old enough to be our fathers, to stabilize our environment from the mess we are in, you cannot place any weight of gold on that.
Yeah, so you set up an advisory council of some sort where you have the elderly and the older people and you tap into their experience, but you allow young people who are untainted to actually be the people to actually be at the forefront.
Those young people untainted are welcome to the party. It's a democratic setting. If they can use their share number, those young people, if they can use their share number and their resources to ensure that their own candidate emerges in a democratic setting, it's welcome. There's no old man sitting and say, it must be me or nothing. Even General Buhari went forward. He said, if I see a better candidate, I'll be willing to let that person run. But the truth of the matter is, let all these younger people come with their support and everything and come into this party and make a difference. You mentioned advisory group. You've forgotten that Jonathan had advisory group. Where is the advisory group now? Does he listen to anybody? There's something in there that you begin to think of only I, me, myself, is our turn, is my turn, and you don't listen to counsel. If he listens to counsel, we'll not be in the mess we are in today. He listens to no one. You can't help the deaf by increasing the volume of the music, nor help the blind by turning on the light. You remove their cataract or you cure their deafness. This is a generation that's not listen. I mean, a president that listens to no one except those around him with whom they are mismanaging Nigeria.
Let's take a short break, and when we come back, we speak to Pastor Bakari about Boko Haram and the security challenges facing Nigeria today. So let me take you on to another issue now. Nigeria is facing serious security problems. In the north, Boko Haram, the sect known as Boko Haram, has more or less made at least 2 states that we know unbearable, and they're very difficult places to live in. People are being killed daily. In the south, we hear about kidnappings and the general state of insecurity. Can I start by asking you what your take is on what is going on, starting with the insurgency of the Boko Haram in the north?
Well, insurgency is not a new thing in the world. And Nigeria is not an island on this issue. The truth of the matter is the presence of justice and equal distribution of the resources of our nation equal opportunities for our citizens would cause such things to begin to dwindle. Where there's no justice and where there's deep-seated corruption, you expect violence. A few days ago, the Nobel laureate, Professor Wole Soyinka, said Nigeria is in a state of war because of what you have just said. And it does not seem that the government is that deeply concerned about these issues, because if you're concerned about a thing, you make steady movement towards finding solution to it. There have been insurgencies in the past. Yes, there have been. There was a time the South was a hot place to go to. But with a listening president and with trustful give and take, with gathering of intelligence from the Secret Service and those who are in charge of such, and listening to people and talking to them, they were able to provide a solution to it. So is this one also. It is not going just, you can't solve it by just asking the military to go there and shoot people. You are fighting people who have no fixed address, and you can't capture them except the people in the community tells you where they are. So if there is no massive unemployment in our country, if the youth of our nation are gainfully employed, don't forget, is the idle hand that is the devil, or idle mind that is the devil's workshop. So
it sounds to me as if what you're saying is that the problem is inevitable given the issues that Nigeria faces as a nation, and that you do not think this particular government is doing enough to resolve the problem.
It is definitely inevitable. During the campaign, for the first time in my life, I saw all mergeries. They said the number to 15 million today in the north. No skills, no education, and many of them no father, no mother. And you're not thinking about them. And you think by building one or two Almajiri schools that will fix the problem?
You know, there are people who actually believe that the reason we have this insurgency up north is because we have a southern president in government. When Yar'Adua was in power, we had, these problems existed. Boko Haram was not operating on this sort of scale. There are people who see this as a direct result of General Buhari losing elections. And you have contributed to that notion based on some of the things you've said. I think you said you've heard of Wild Wild West, but if the PDP wins the election, you will see the Wild Wild North. And so now we have the Wild Wild North. And people are thinking, is there a connection?
No, there is no, let me tell you the truth. They've tried to set up several committees. This government had tried to implicate, and there are people who are looking for opportunity to link either General Muhammadu Buhari or myself or the CPC with what's happening. Let's go back, because he just made some statements now that when Yar'Adua was there was no problem.
No, I didn't say that. I said the problems were not on this scale.
Okay, it was not on this scale.
Yes.
That's fine. How did it degenerate to this level? It's because the problem you don't, I mean, the complaint you don't look into becomes a problem. The problem you do not solve becomes a burden. It's now a national burden. And don't forget, Boko Haram started as a group, just like Maitasini. They started because of their own extreme faith and what they believe. We do not endorse it. General does not endorse it. I don't endorse it. We don't even know them at all. Obasanjo knew them. He met with them. So PDP knows where these people are. The president of Nigeria said Boko Haram is in the judiciary, is in the legislative arm of government, is in the Senate, and they are dipping hands in his bowl. He knows them, but there's no moral courage to expose them and deal with this issue. So they know what they're doing. And if you look very well, Boko Haram is about 4 different types of Boko Haram, but all lumped together as Boko Haram. There's criminal Boko Haram bombing banks. Are you saying these are the same people from the north that went to Ekiti State or Ondo State to bomb the banks there? Are you saying the bomb explosions that took place within 5 minutes sporadically in Kano was done by the Boko Haram around Borno State? No, there's political Boko Haram, there's criminal Boko Haram, there's security Boko Haram, and there's real Boko Haram. Let's separate the issues. This government knows what they're doing. Anytime you're addressing major issue, there'll be explosions somewhere.
You've said you don't know them. And yet you're very sure they're in different categories. That suggests some sort of knowledge. Is it that you have intelligence? Is it that you have people who work in intelligence who are telling you that this is not one group, these are multiple groups? What have you done to share that information with the security services to help them?
Simple daily analysis of what's happening around you. I'm an informed man. I look at some banks were blown in Ondo, in Ekiti State. This is not Boko Haram. These are robbers labeling this Boko Haram. The kind of bombs that exploded in Kano couldn't have been put together by some not educated or against a group against education who have the sophistication to put that together. A simple analysis I've made. And if this government is gathering the right intelligence and they're listening to those who are better equipped than them, who are wiser than them, and who are more experienced, probably they will find some solution. I'm not in government. I cannot know all that I should know. But Mr. President should know. But Jonathan has one characteristic. There's nothing you bring before you say, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. And they have a saying downtown in my hometown. A man that does not know what is happening when the city burns, when the village collapses, when the market scatters, and say, I don't know, has no business in government.
So if CPC were to be in government today, how will you deal with the Boko Haram crisis? What is your solution?
The CPC solution?
Yes, the CPC and Tunde Bakari. No, but if you were to be given an opportunity today and told, come up with a solution, how are you going to deal with this crisis?
We'll get as much information as possible. We'll listen to intelligence as possible. We'll listen to so many people, and we'll engage in meaningful dialogue with those who should know.
What stops the CPC now as a party of Nigerians from actually trying to find a way to solve the Boko Haram problem outside government? It is your country, and you may not be in government, but does that mean you don't have a responsibility if you are able to do something about it?
I hope you're listening to General Buhari when he spoke, when they tried to lure him to be their representative. Say, I don't even know you. The Quran I read and the Islam I embrace does not kill people without bringing them to court. We don't know who they are. Do you understand me? And if we are going to engage them, we have to sit. We must have all the tools to do this. You can't just get up as a party and say, we are going to investigate. Obasanjo, who is part and parcel of this administration, went there, and those that spoke to him were eventually killed.
We're taking a break now, and when we come back, we speak to Pastor Bakari about the conflict between church and state and whether a man of God should be a practicing politician. Welcome back to Straight Talk, and I am talking to Pastor Tunde Bakari. There are many people who find it a little bit difficult to understand why a pastor, a man of God, would engage in politics in quite the same way that you do. Many believe that there should be a healthy separation of church and state. So what is a man of God doing indulging in politics, particularly in a place like Nigeria where many believe those politics by their very nature are very dirty?
Many people talk about that. They are ill-informed or they are not properly educated on these issues. You should not be talking of separation of state and church. You should be talking of separation of priesthood to start with. There are three kinds of priesthood in the Bible. Aaronic priesthood, that strictly in the temple, offering sacrifice, incense to God. Melchizedek's priesthood, which is a king and a priest rolled together, which is a priesthood of the Lord Jesus Christ. And the last priesthood being the Median priesthood, or the priesthood of Median, which deals with strategies, structure, system. Therefore, I am not a Jew. I'm not a Judaist. I'm a Christian. My priesthood is that of Melchizedek, of a king and a priest. Even in the Old Testament, there were people like that who were prophets, priests, and kings. Example is King David. And Jesus is called the son of David also. Do you understand me? Is lack of information. And don't forget at all that the Pope with 2 billion people in the world, is a head of state. Now, should we separate church from state? Yes, but not individuals. I didn't say Lateran is a state. But as an individual, do I stop being a citizen of this country because I'm a pastor? Or do you find inconsistency in my life that will make me not qualified to do the things I've been asked to do? If you want the righteous to be in authority, where are you going to get them from? From the bar, from the beach,
Or from the church.
or from the brothel, or from the church and mosque?
Now, there are people who say going to your sermons is almost like going to a political rally. Do you see why people would look at that and have a problem with that in a church?
Thank you very much. I'm mindful of heaven, but I know that you are living on earth. And a bad government is an evil plague against the entire society, including those in church. Unfortunately, when they begin to make policies that will affect every life, that's when you wake up. You ought to ask me, was it after I'd become a running mate to General Buhari that I started doing this? Or has this been my life consistently? Where were you when I took the likes of Abacha to task in this nation and even IBB? Where were you when I was crying against oppression because you are oppressing the people? Nigeria is my country. The whole world is my parish. Anywhere there is evil, I will cry against it. And I was not a politician when I marched the streets and led the Save Nigeria group to bring stability into our country. When it favored Jonathan, he said, he's a good man. And when it doesn't favor him, he's a politician. Was I a politician when SNG started? Please, I'm not going to allow such irrational excrescences to stop me from what I'm doing. Do you realize an evil that just happened in this nation? Do you know that the president's wife was sick, flown abroad, taken care of by probably taxpayers' money, and they denied she was sick? Reuben Abati said it was a rumor. The president's wife came to Nigeria and said she was not even near the hospital they mentioned, she just went abroad to rest. And few days after that, or few weeks, they had a party where she said she was operated 7 times, she would have died. They lied to this nation, and the preacher that was there at their Thanksgiving service forgot "Thou shalt not lie" as a topic. I can't keep quiet.
You are critical not just of politicians, but also of the church. Some of the churches that we have in Nigeria. You've just given me an example of one pastor that you're critical of, but you've also been known to criticize pastors that you say fly in private jets, etc., etc. What is it that you have a problem with? Is it that you're saying pastors should not be wealthy? Because you're not a poor man yourself.
Listen, ma'am, I'm not critical. A critical spirit is evidence of a demonic spirit. Am I raising issues? Are these issues vital to our day-to-day living in Nigeria? A friend of mine just buried a son. His son came from Cambridge, a second-year student in Cambridge, at Surulere. He saw an Okada man snatching a bag in front of his father's house. He pursued them. They shot him dead. That's the society we are living in today. Okonjo Iweala's mother was kidnapped. That's the society we are living in today. How I pray that all the evils in the society will first and foremost visit the homes of these men in church who talk about miracles they cannot deliver and who forget about the God who came to die for the poor. There's oppression in our land, and for as long as you keep quiet, you are not a messenger of the God you claim to represent.
So your issue with them is that they are not talking about the evils in society. It's not that you have a problem that they've made some money from their ministry.
Well,
because I've heard that you said, I think the last person, it was the CAN president who got a private jet, and you were very critical of the fact that he had a private jet.
Long before any of them dreamt of private jet, we acquired a Boeing 707 for business in the 90s to do cargo business in Nigeria. So don't think I'm saying, oh, having a private jet is evil. Those are petty issues. But you look at the society you are in. Is that the priority of God and his kingdom? You're saying, oh, I can't if you are presiding over 160, you have churches in 160 nations, you don't go there by bicycle. The Queen of England does not have a private jet. You don't need private jet to do that. It is ego. It is something in us that feel we are now important because we have this. The life of a man does not consist of the abundance which he possesses. And let's say this, instead of these private jets and this and that, if they put resources together and say, hey, let all these pastors come together, let's run a first-class airline in Nigeria that people stop dying. You will create jobs for people, you will create services for people, and you can use that anytime you want to travel and call any of those jets. It's just that we have our brain under our feet and we trample upon it. We are not thinking constructively.
These are your colleagues. Do you have these conversations with them privately, if not at least publicly? Do you talk to them? Do you raise these issues? And if so, what do they say to you?
I wish you know that many of them don't even have, you can't even gain any access to them. They do their things in public and you deal with them in public. Listen. Even governors now have private jets. And bishops have to dedicate those private jets for them. Can you imagine a matron saying, my private jet does not cost, it does not cost the state it does not cost 9 billion, it costs 7 billion. What can 7 billion do in an atmosphere like this? Can it build a first-class hospital that the Nigerians and people in West Africa can take advantage of? You can raise the standard of living of people, or it's your private jet because you want to attend funeral services and you want to go up and down, and you cannot walk on the same road, you cannot travel on the same roads. The Nigerians are dying every day. Wicked people preside over this nation, and they hate the people of this country. They have cornered the whole wealth of the nation, and they think the entire country is their fiefdom. But they're toying with the rage of the poor. If God will help us to have an awakened citizenry who knows that to be a citizen is more than possessing a passport, that you have rights, you have privileges, you have responsibilities, and they begin to make a demand and to hold these people accountable, it will not be like this. The fault is that of Nigerians who refuse to be active stakeholders in affairs that concern them, but they have chosen to be spectators.
We're going for a break now, and when we come back, we speak to Pastor Bakari, the private man. What does he do when he wants to relax? How does he relate to his family? Join us after the break. Welcome back to Straight Talk, where I am here speaking to Pastor Tunde Bakari. You're very passionate in the way you talk about Nigeria and about issues. And you seem to utilize a lot of your time, basically in the areas of political activism and, of course, your church. Well, how do you relax when you're not busy doing this important work that you do?
It looks like a 24/7, 7 days a week walk to so many people. But I'm a very private person. When I'm not in a studio like this, and I'm not on the pulpit preaching, I'm home, basically. They define me or call me, my family, a triangular man. Home, church, airport, when I go to other nations. For relaxation, I swim. I do a lot of swimming, and I do a lot of reading. And anytime I want to have a real rib-cracking time, I have select home videos that I watch.
Home videos of yourself and your family?
No, home videos of Nollywood,
Nollywood,
what have you. And,
a little bird tells me actually you used to watch Indian movies.
Yes, in my teenage years. Emma Malini and Amitabh Bachchan, and my favorite film back then was Kabhi Kabhi. That was in my teenage years, ever before I even became a Christian. But now I relax with Nollywood, but my children laugh a lot because they see me really cry when I see an emotional scene. And besides that, they know that once I relax in my chair and I do like this to any of my daughters, which means a scintillating hot cup of tea, they know Dad is about to sleep. They have told me repeatedly, you don't watch television, television watches you.
What is your relationship like with your kids? I understand you have 5. I mean, you're a pastor, so are you very strict? Do you have like rules and regulations about things they can't do and can do? How does that work?
My children grew up in an environment of love and affection, and not rules and legislations and what. And yes, I was raised by my mother, and I'm a disciplinarian, so is my wife. And my wife poured herself into her children while I was going up and down. And recently, I think everyone in my family had bought into this call that Nigeria must be saved, Nigeria must be changed, and Nigeria must be great in our lifetime. When Ojota happened, my whole family was there. When I marched the streets in Abuja, my daughters were there with me. I'm talking of natural children. And my first daughter runs International Center for Reconstruction and Development, and is part of SNG network. And I have just 1 or 2 more.
So it's a house full of activists.
There is a house full of those who are passionate about this country and who think every nation is entitled to having a conscience of the nation.
Okay. I can't help but notice that you're wearing some bling. You seem to like jewelry.
No,
Gold on the 2 wrists of your hands shining.
No, not really. These are gifts. This was given to me, I think, by my friend in Malaysia, and this was a present for my birthday, and this is my wedding ring. That's all the 3 golden things I have on.
So it's not that you have a love for jewelry and that you indulge in.
Not at all. Not at all. No love for jewelry, no love for anything material. I love God. I love people. And I would rather pour myself into that. Those who love money use people, and those who love people use money.
Thank you very much, Pastor Tunde Bakari. You have been watching Straight Talk with me, Kadaria Ahmed. Thank you very much for joining us. We were, of course, talking to Pastor Tunde Bakari, and we discussed the issue of Boko Haram in Nigeria, the security challenges the country is facing, the mergers of opposition parties trying to take on the PDP at the 2015 polls. And finally, we discussed the issue of Tunde Bakari, the private man. It has been an interesting one. Join me again next week when I have another special guest on Straight Talk with Kadaria.